I will tell you the two sightings that I had on the FLIR, those two experiences that I have, there's no doubt in my mind that they were Bigfoot. There's no doubt. They were so close to us. I mean, they were probably 20 feet away from us. They were right there. It was a Bigfoot.
You're listening to the Cryptid Crew Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Childers. Before we get started, if you've had an encounter or an experience or just something unexplained, click on our link tree in the description and share your encounter. Thank you for listening to the Cryptid Crew Podcast. On this episode of the Cryptid Crew Podcast, I have the privilege of introducing veteran Bigfoot researcher and native from Kentucky, Jana Jumpp. Jana, thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, my pleasure.
It's awesome to have you. Been looking forward to this and some of your encounters as well.
Right.
We met at the Western North Carolina Bigfoot Festival. Is that correct?
That's right.
In Marion. How did you enjoy that?
Oh, I had a great time. I actually went with my daughter and her best friend who lives in Asheville, and they decided I needed to go. So we went there and stayed in Asheville for the weekend. It was my first trip, and we had a great time there.
Yeah, that was my first trip as well. It was a really, really great turnout.
Yeah, it really was.
I think John Bruner, who helps run it or started it, was telling me that afterwards, I believe there were close to 20,000 people attended.
Oh, wow.
That's a lot.
Wow, that's great. Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't know that it was. I know they have it every year, and I didn't know it was very popular. But Bigfoot's popular, so
Sure. Yes. And speaking of, Jana, if you can, tell us how you got started in the Bigfoot world.
Well, years ago, when I was in the Navy in the early '80s, I ended up going camping and backpacking on Bigfoot Trail up in Mendocino National Forest. So I always had an interest. I don't know if you've ever been to California, but everything's Bigfoot out there. And so about 20 years ago, I changed my lifestyle and I had to find some new hobbies. So I became a full-time grandma for my grandkids were very young. And then my son was like, Mom, got to get a hobby. So I was like, okay. So I was working night shift. So I started listening to Coast to Coast. This is about 10, 11 years ago. It was right when Missing in America, 411 Missing in America. I don't know if you read that book. That was the first book. And so David Pilates was on there. I started listening to him. I got interested. I kind of found my way to the BFRO website, and then I found the KVRO, which is the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Organization. And lo and behold, after I was following them, they had their first public expedition. So I signed up for that and paid $50 for my first expedition. So I got all my stuff and I went, and it was on the Fraser Land. And I just was really looking for a new hobby and to make some friends. And I love to camp, and I can't get any of my friends to do anything fun like that. So I was really just looking for people who wanted to camp. I didn't really think I'd see a Bigfoot or hear a Bigfoot. So it was on the Fraser Land. Have you ever heard of the Fraser Land?
I have not.
Okay, so it's in Anderson County, Kentucky, which has the most Bigfoot sightings in Kentucky. And Kentucky is the third most populated Bigfoot state. I don't know if you know that as well. But it's kind of freaky. It's got a lot of history. They have a lot of sightings in the area, and they're known for a lot of lights. And it's known for, like, since the 1700s, people have been run off the land. So that's where it was on a private expedition. It was really cool. So the first night I went out camping or hiking with everybody, I didn't know that I was with probably some really famous researchers in the Bigfoot world at that time. But I met a woman named Angela Ashton, who I'm very good friends with today. Anyway, but she has been researching Bigfoot since she was in her 20s. Probably she's 60 now, so 40 years. So the second night we went out, it was very dark. and we were all wearing red headlamps, and she had gotten this new FLIR camera. It was a $35,000 FLIR camera. So as we were talking about before, one as big as your phone is 5,000. So it was a very intricate, but we were primitive camping, so she couldn't charge it. So I was walking up the hill, and she was behind me, but she didn't have a red headlamp. So she was looking at something through her FLIR. So I actually went back to actually look, and the people in front of me, they had their FLIRs out, were looking, the researchers, and they were pointing like something was over there, but I don't know. I mean, I could tell you now because I have my Bigfoot ears, but at that point, I don't know what they were talking about. So I went back to Angela literally to walk her up the trail because I was afraid she was going to trip over something without the light, and she had zoomed in on a Bigfoot. So it was about 7 foot tall, and it was facing us, and it was kind of frozen. And FLIR is black and white, so it's heat is what it is. It's so you could see the trees, but you could clearly see it. It wasn't like, well, maybe that's no, you could clearly see it. I mean, I have an audio of it, and like I said, I've got to find it, but I was totally freaked out. So it was standing facing us, and it was eyes were blinking. It was a cone head because 98% of Bigfoots in Kentucky are cone heads. So she was just kind of showing me how the camera worked, and she didn't want to record it because she didn't want to. She only had one battery, and she didn't have any way to recharge it. So we were going to be there for I think 2 more days. So anyway, she was showing me, and then she said, and it did look like to the right of us that there was another light. So she said, well, I think there's one over here. Maybe there's two. And when she went that way and went back, that Bigfoot was gone. So, of course, we went walking up there all cocky, telling them, all right, we got it, because I was the recorder. Of course, I was freaked out. And I was recording everything for our group, writing it all down. Well, then she zoned in on it again, either that one or another one. And we think it was probably a juvenile, just they're curious, and it was kind of paralleling us. But this time it was facing, we saw its profile, and you could see its nose, and the wind had started to blow a little bit. So you could see its hair fluffing, and it was swaying back and forth, which a lot of people will talk about how Bigfoots do that when they're nervous. So then we did that again, and then the wind was coming up the hill, and it kind of smelled, I don't want to say it was a bad smell, but almost a sulfur smell, maybe, that we started to smell. So then we were all just they were at a stalemate, we were at a stalemate. So everybody was like, well, it's going to keep following us. Come on, let's just keep walking. So we started walking up the trail, and in front of us, there was a small blue, this color light, fluorescent light. And it looked like maybe a tennis ball size. And then it expanded through the whole woods, lit up. And then it went back. And we never saw Bigfoots again. So if you believe in portals, I don't know. It was kind of freaky.
Yeah, that's I've heard that before as far
Yes.
as seeing orbs and having some type of encounter, seeing a Bigfoot or either hearing something crashing through the woods or breaking brush or limbs as it's
Right.
going into the woods or through the woods.
Right. Yeah, it was, it definitely, we never heard anything else. We never saw them. We never heard them, anything again after that. So needless to say, I was hooked. So I was just hooked. I was like, oh my gosh, this is, of course I love to be out camping and the whole experience because, a lot of Bigfooting and squatching is going out and camping and the camaraderie and all that. So after that, I went on another KBRO expedition in Western Kentucky. And I didn't see a Bigfoot, but we had a lot of other things that like there were noises behind us. We found footprints. There were some people felt like they saw eye shine, stuff like that, in that area. And then I kind of ventured off and started going with Angela. Started her own group with some girls from Texas. So I started going to Georgia to Fort Mountain. Normally is where we go. Our first expeditions, it was called Southern Sasquatch Expedition. And the first one we went to was Fort Mountain. And when we got there, and anybody who squatches will laugh when I say this because Bigfoots are so curious. When we got there, we were in a primitive camping spot, and next to us was 25 Girl Scouts squealing. We were like, oh, this is going to be great. So we ended up we went out at night, and we went on a trail. And this was when I was telling you I was with my friends from Alabama, and she again had her FLIR camera. And we got down and we sat down and just kind of waited. And behind a bush, there was a lot of light. It was a really bright light, and we couldn't see it because it was behind a bush. It was kind of up on a hill. And most of the time, Bigfoots like to be above you if they can. I think they feel more calm, and you see a lot of people talking about how they're above us on a ridge or something. So anyway, but something stood up, and it looked like a Bigfoot to me, and threw a rock. And then when we went like this, and when we went back, it was gone. So that we also had, I have it on video as well. We had orbs circling our campground. You hear that all the time. I don't know what that is, but I have a video of that I can send you if you want it. From that expedition, they had set up. Um, Angela used to have a YouTube TV show, and then a lot of the people that had come from Alabama were in that industry. So they had set up perimeter cameras, motion activated cameras. And in the middle of the night, we had these orbs all just come into our campground. It was pretty cool. Another time there at Fort Mountain, we were out on a night hawk because we've had a number of expeditions there. So, from where you're at, Georgia, it's very, very steep hills. There's a lot of hollers, and, you could be up on the top of one and it's just almost straight down. And we were on an actual path, and the tree line was like on our shoulders, and there were these white orbs. And I don't have this on video because we didn't have any, and nobody took any. I think we were more freaked out. We were just following us along in the trees. I'm one of those squatchers that I debunk it before. I don't think everything's Bigfoot. I just don't. I think, I've been out on expeditions, and everybody's like, "Oh, I saw Bigfoot. I saw it." It's like, come on. You're not that lucky to see them all the time. But those were pretty freaky up on Fort Mountain.
Yeah, Jana, let me ask you this. Let's go back to Anderson County. Something that I was thinking about. How long did that particular encounter last from the time you first saw it until the time it left?
I would say about 15 minutes from the whole
Wow.
time. I mean, it was, yeah, because we were, they actually told me to talk because they said, Jana, start talking because they're attracted. I was the only female other than Angela, who was way behind us. They said they're very curious and they're attracted to female voices. So I was just kind of talking, blah, blah, blah. But they were doing, the guys were all doing this and taking their FLIRs. And I mean, I'm not going to give up their anonymity, obviously. But they were hearing it, and they were hearing it the whole time beside us. And then when I turned around, Angela was already zoned in on it the first time. So the whole thing was about 15 minutes.
Okay. Let,
That's
let
pretty
me ask you
crazy.
this. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. What was the distance, and did they notice you guys?
Oh, the Bigfoots? It was either two Bigfoots or one Bigfoot. Yeah, I would say that they noticed us. I think that they were probably paralleling us in the woods. And it wasn't a real steep incline or anything. It was pretty flat. Um, and I think that the first one, what really, the first two times that she saw it on the floor, I think they knew that she had them in sight because it froze. The first time it was face nuts, and it literally froze, and you could just see its eyes blinking. And then the second time it was facing the other way, and it was swaying like it knew. But I mean, they were only like 7 feet tall, so I wouldn't think that they were. Um, that land is like really crazy. I mean, the guy that owns it, he bought it, and he from the area, and he and his wife made some money in the business, and he wanted to buy a farm there. So he went and he got it for a really good price. And then after he bought it, a lot of really weird things started happening when they were there. He was so much so that, and I don't know if he still to this day has actually built a house on it. Because they were going to build a house on it, but so many crazy things happened on the land. He's kind of leery of doing that and having kids on that land. Um, but after he got it, then Charlie Raymond and Philip Spencer, who's now passed away. He's another. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's been passed away for probably 5 or 6 years. Um, they went and told and said, "Do you know what land you've got here?" I mean, it's so weird because you go in to Anderson County. It's in Lawrenceburg, and you're just driving on the street, and you turn into this really nice subdivision. I mean, with really nice houses. And then there's a little dirt road that cuts through one of the houses, and it goes into this land. I can't believe that people haven't heard like noises. I'll have to think of that, and I'll tell you after the podcast. I'll have to tell you there's a movie you can watch about that actual land.
Okay.
I can't think of the name of it right now, but they've made an actual movie. It's a YouTube movie, and it tells a lot about it because it has a really, really good history. But those are my only 2 sightings that I can tell you, yes, I've seen Bigfoot, but only because of that FLIR camera. I mean, I wouldn't have seen it, there's no way at night you're gonna see them like that. But I have had a lot of experiences with them, knowing that they're I mean, um I went to Tennessee a lot with because Angela at that time lived there, and she had grown up there. Where she did all her researching. But one time, and I want to say, and I'm not going to swear to this because we went to a couple of places there, but there's a lake near Herndon, Tennessee called Chihuahua Lake, and it's a fishing lake. And a bunch of our friends came. We had like a little camp out, and I couldn't come till the next day. And they had some activity. They saw eye shine, and they thought they heard a tree knock or a tree break. So we went back there on my way out of town. I was coming back home, and she said, "Let's stop there during the day. I want to just see if we can find where we were. I want to see if we can find some prints or a tree break." Um, I didn't even have my camera with me. I mean, I just was la la la, and she had her phone and had a little bat. And we got back there, and we thought we heard some vocals, and it was right there. People were fishing. You could smell them barbecuing. That's how close we were to these people. Like it's a lake, a pay lake. Everybody, or it's a fishing lake. I don't think you have to pay there. Um, but all of a sudden, um, they just started going off. I mean, took a bit of tree knock, and it was like they just started going off. There were rock clacks, there were whooping, all kinds of stuff. And I don't know if they thought that we were Bigfoot or something, but I came home like I had a really big fever blister, and I get that when I'm really stressed out because it stressed me out. It really kind of freaked me out a little bit. But that was daytime, just in the
Oh,
middle of the day. I've had another time where we've gone on down there in Tennessee. It's near Memphis, in that area, South Haven, um, where we've gone hiking just to hike and gone on the nature trail. And right on the nature trail in the mud, there was a Bigfoot print. So, I mean, I had flip flops on. I mean, I wasn't expecting it was a nature trail. I mean, I wasn't expecting anything, but it was real cloudy. And so once we got, of course, we took pictures and all that stuff. And once we got back to the car, she said, "I didn't want to scare ya." She said, "But our clay, we have a lot of clay in our soil. So if it's cloudy, the clay's so heavy that it'll clear real quick." And she's like, "That was probably like an hour ago, that Bigfoot print. Like we just missed it." I was like, "Oh my God,
was it?
it's
So it was
crazy."
pretty fresh.
Yeah, it was pretty
Yeah.
fresh.
Jana, let me ask you this, going back to the orbs, the lights.
Yeah.
What do you think they are, and does it relate to Bigfoot, or is it a mystery still?
Well, my philosophy on Bigfooters are there's the meat and potato kind of people, and they think that there's no paranormal to them, and they're just, descendants from some hominin, and, they're meat and potato. It's just, there's no paranormal. But then there's a whole other group that they call the woo group that believes that they're paranormal. So I would say that I believe that they're probably maybe cloaking. It might be Bigfoot's moving around. I mean, you hear so many stories of them just disappearing. And I will tell you that the first sighting that we had, when she turned that camera, and I'm saying she went like that and went back, that Bigfoot was gone, just bam, gone that fast. It's crazy. So I would say, and I mean, I've heard many, many, many people. We were just lucky enough to get them because they had those remote cameras in the middle of the night. We were sleeping, but I've heard so many people say that they see those orbs all the time. So I lean more to the woo side of it.
Right. Yeah. There's, like you said, there's both camps. There's flesh and blood, and then there's the woo, which is, do they cloak? Do they, go through portals, or can they move stealthy? I say stealthy, I guess, where, they can't be seen.
Right.
But, I think they can, I'm not going to say cloak, possibly cloak, but I've always said camouflage
Yep.
of some sort, or blend in. And how, of course, I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows that, but like you said, there's been many reports of orbs or lights, and
Mhm.
then a Bigfoot sighting or something similar to that.
Right, right. Well, I will tell you that the first sight, when we saw that blue light and it illuminated in front of us, and then it disappeared. I personally think that it probably was a portal that they went through. But that land, Fraser Land, that is known for lights. It's known for having strange lights and stuff like that. I mean, and then that one night that we were in Port Mountain, it's probably the third expedition there. Um, we were walking along and they were in the trees following us along. And like I said, I'm a debunker, so I'm going to tell you there was nobody out but us. Um, nobody had headlamps on. There was no way that it could have been a light. I mean, it was just looked like orbs following us.
Right. That's what I was about to say because that was private land, correct?
The first one was private land. Yeah, it's private property. The second one was Fort Mountain, but they don't really let you go out, but they kind of turned their heads to us because they knew we were up there, doing it. But they don't really usually like you out. I think after a certain time you're supposed to stay at your campground, but they let us go up there. We've had a lot of experiences. We had an experience talking to a ghost up there. It was really cool. It's a lot of fun up there. But I mean, there's a lot of snakes. Basically, and I don't we go, like, in the spring. I'm not a spotcher that gets out in summer very much. I don't like snakes, I don't like ticks.
Yeah, I
Plus
can
I
do
don't
without the snakes.
ugh. Yeah, they have Georgia has about 15 different types, it feels like. I know it's 4, I think, 4 poisonous snakes, but we only have 2 here, really. We have copperheads and we have timber rattlers in my area.
Yeah,
They have water moccasins in the western part of the state. But, yeah. I like to be able to see where I'm stepping, you know?
sure.
And
Yeah,
then even if
absolutely.
you go out at night, you know, we don't have alligators here. So we don't have to worry about that like y'all do.
Right, right. That's 2 things I can do without.
Yeah.
Alligators, well, 3 things, spiders and snakes, yeah.
Right.
Let me ask you this, Jana, 2 things. What do you think about what are the rock clacks or wood knocks, and what do you think about stick structures? And have you found any?
Many. I went on an expedition in eastern Kentucky on private land. It was really cool. It was the last time I went with the KBRO, and I met a researcher from the BFRO. He'd been doing it for 20 years, and he said probably the most profound thing that I've ever heard about Bigfoot. He said once you see the woods through Bigfooter's eyes, you will never see it again. I mean, I see stuff all the time. I've especially in Georgia. I mean, I've seen all kinds of structures. Um, you know, you just have to look for them. You have to know, and I've seen so many arches. There's a in Ellijay. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Cartacay Leap. It's called, and it goes to the Cartacay River. It's right in the middle of downtown Ellijay. It's a very small hiking trail that goes down to like a swimming hole. Basically, it's got a rock you can jump on. So we went down there one day and there were people running past us. I mean, because they're all running to go swimming, but we're kind of more looking at it a little bit more as Bigfooter eyes. And there was this huge X. I mean, and there was no way that it could have been done by a human. It was that big. People were just running past it, you know? I was in Red River Gorge, um, and I saw what I thought might be structures, tree breaks, old ones. When I was in Texas, I went to Texas for business, and there were 3 of us, and we all had got to pick what we wanted to do. Of course, I wanted to go out nature trail, so we went to a nature trail in It's Louisville Lake, I think is the name of it. It's outside Fort Worth. We found all kinds of Bigfoot stuff. Have you ever seen like glyphs, on the ground where they make signs with rocks? Has anyone ever talked to you
Yeah.
about that? So
Yes.
I found them in about 4 different states. Now, granted, that could be people doing that. You know what I mean? It could be people doing that. I can't say that a Bigfoot did that, but I found them in Carter County, Kentucky. I found them in Indiana. I found them in Texas. I found a couple really cool structures that they weren't really tree structures. They were 10 feet tall, 2 trees 10 feet tall, and they were both broken at the same angle, about 10 foot and crisscross. Like weird. Like, what are they pointing to? And I found that also in Georgia, but they were a lot smaller. So, and arches. I mean, you can find arches all the time,
Yeah.
but you have to you have to debunk it. You have to look at it and say, Bigfoot's a big thing. So, and especially with the Boy Scouts, I mean, the Boy Scouts get out there and make those huts or whatever, but if you see a big arch that's jammed, I mean, a big tree that's jammed into the ground and there's nothing, you can't really look up and find anything that nature did it. I don't know. You know what I
Right.
mean? Pretty big.
Do you think do you think they're some type of marker or
Yes.
okay.
I think they mark their territory. I think they're somebody told me that they thought the ones where I was talking about were Chris Carson because, I was on Bigfoot group talking about it and they were like, we think they're pointing to water, like as a water mark pointing that way. Um, I mean, who knows? But I mean,
Yeah.
they're everywhere. Like I said, Kentucky's the third most populated Bigfoot state. So they've had a sighting in almost every county. Even here, they've had it in Jefferson, but I mean Jefferson's very populated. But in Bernheim Forest, with that kind of out almost to another county, it's almost to the country, so to speak. But they've had quite a few sightings, and I've seen some structures that I felt were warning me. Where my friend lived in LJ, she lived on a cul-de-sac, and behind that cul-de-sac was all wilderness area. And we would go back there and hike. Of course, we're getting back there, and there was a structure, a small structure there, probably 10 foot tall, and it would change all the time. So I don't know if they were like maybe trying to warn us not to go back there. I mean, I listen to them. If I feel like they don't want us there, I'm leaving. You know?
Right. Yeah. I had someone on a few episodes ago, and they're really into tree structures or finding tree structures. And you could say, "Hey, somebody could have made that." Well,
Mhm.
somebody could have, but it's going to take a thumb to make it. But some of them are just unexplainable. And why would you make them?
Right. I mean, I've seen them in Georgia, especially in the woods there, just huge, huge. And it's like, there's no way. I was in Mammoth Cave National Park, and there's a pond, and it has a boardwalk that goes around it. And there was this huge tree structure in the middle of the pond. It's like, who made? You can't. I mean, you can. I mean, I always will say to anybody, what as far as Bigfooting goes, it's like, I'll debunk it, and I'm not going to tell you unless I saw the Bigfoot doing it. I'm not going to tell you that they did this, but I don't know, looks kinda freaky, but I will tell you the 2 sightings that I had on the floor, those 2 experiences that I have, there's no doubt in my mind that they were Bigfoot. There's no doubt. I mean, it was that they were so close to us. I mean, they were probably 20 feet away from us. They were right there. It wasn't like, "Well, maybe." To me, it was a Bigfoot, you know?
Yeah.
Of course, I
Uh,
was freaked out.
Let me ask you this, Jana. Would you want to have another encounter like that?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
not like I said, I think I kinda go to the woo side of it, so I don't feel like, um I feel like they can tell if you mean harm, so I don't mean any harm to them. So I just feel like, well, first of all, I feel like if they wanted to hurt me, it would be so fast. I wouldn't even know really, honestly, if you think about it. Um, and I just feel like they know that we're not there to harm them, you know? It's pretty weird though. It's pretty weird when you go out and all of a sudden you feel like something's watching you, when you're out in the woods. Um, and you're like, what is that? Or the freakiest thing to me is when you go out into the woods or you go somewhere and all of a sudden, you hear all the wood sounds, you hear the katydids and all that stuff, and all of a sudden everything goes silent. That's kind of freaky when that happens because that happens.
Yes,
They're
and
full.
usually something or someone has a sighting or an encounter
Right.
when the woods go quiet.
Yeah, it's true. Because I've in Mississippi. Um, I've had that experience many times. I had some equipment that I think got zapped. I was so excited because we were at my friend's house, but behind her house was a lot of was woods, and there sounded like there was a lot of stuff going on back there. There was a lot of jumping around and stuff. And I was like, oh, this, I got it. I had a recorder with a microphone that someone had made for me. And I tested it. I put it in a little waterproof container and I set it out there all night to record. Never worked again. Never. That. Didn't pick up one sound and I never could. I had to throw it away. It's like, and that's a common thing that people talk about too, is getting their equipment zapped. It's pretty
And as well, them being able to pick up or notice infrared, or these game
Yes,
trail cameras.
yes, yes. I'll tell you a funny story about the the game camera. So when we went to we're going to the Fraser Land, Charlie went out there and set up a camera, and because they went out there before to scout the area, all that stuff. So he put up a camera. Well, when they came back, there was a pointed rock turned around pointing at it. Like they had turned it around and set it there, like saying, "We know it's there." That, I mean, very seldom do you see people picking up any kind of Bigfoot, on a camera. You know,
Right.
it's just crazy.
Very rare. It's very rare. Yeah.
I think it's just a mistake.
What's been your favorite place to do research or do an investigation?
Like Fort Mountain, where I saw the ones, and also Mississippi down in Hickory Hills, I think it's called. It's actually in Tennessee, I believe, but it's right in the South Haven area. I think that's where I found my first print. Um, but I'd love to go out to any woods. Anytime I go out to the woods, I'm always Bigfooting. I'm always squatching. I've been to Indiana. I go up there with the Indiana Bigfoot Research Organization. Have you heard of Greg Yost?
Yes.
Okay, well, Greg has shown me a lot of stuff. I'll go up there sometimes and meet them. But he has some really cool pictures that pop up that I want to definitely get up there and kind of check out. I just like to be in the woods. I mean, I grew up here in Kentucky. I learned to shoot a gun when I was 6. We did bow and arrow. We were always out in the woods. So I mean, that's my happy place anyway. So,
Yes.
but I definitely like Georgia. Lots of really great tree structures in Georgia.
Yeah. North Georgia has it's beautiful too.
Mhm. It sure is. I think J is probably my favorite spot. I think just I've had so many. That's in Fort Mountain, obviously, but then even J in the area, just getting out and hiking around. But I'm down to go anywhere Bigfoot. You know what I mean? Anywhere that. So we went to Red River Gorge, and I was with a bunch of people that had never Bigfoot, but we were out just hiking, and I was finding all kinds of stuff, taking pictures, showing them. So I really like to introduce people to it. My daughter thinks I'm crazy, but almost any time that I've ever been out at night in the woods, you definitely usually can find something, you know, especially if you have some activity that tweaks their curiosity. For example, I went to Benton, Kentucky. It's right on the Mississippi River. And we were there for a paranormal event, and it was a big Civil War reenactment, and they have the trenches, they've redone them. It's pretty cool. There was a big battle there, and we actually had Bigfoot activity right in the middle of it. I was like, was that? Did you hear that? It's just really crazy.
Yeah.
And people just don't even realize it. They don't even realize that they're like the things that they're hearing, and I just love to get out there. It's just
Yeah.
fun because it's once you get your Bigfoot eyes and you're out in the woods, it's just like a total different thing, you know?
Well, yeah. Yeah. Most people, I guess, either shrug something off or don't know what they're looking for or hearing.
Yeah. They don't go out in the woods at night, first of all. You know what I mean?
True.
But in most of the expeditions that I've been to, um, there's a lot of people that are a little bit older and they don't have the knees they used to, and they can't get out and hike, but they sit by the campfire and listen and wait for, and we've had activity many times by the campfire. And they'll just come out and they like to camp. So they know they can't get out and hike and do all the stuff that they used to be able to do, but they still come. So
Yeah. I guess if you act natural, it piques their curiosity.
I think that they know that you don't mean harm to them. You know what I mean? I think they can pick up on that. So I think the best um, researcher that I ever met was Sibylla Irwin. I don't know if have you heard of her, Sibylla?
Yes.
She's a BFRO. She used to work down at the Expedition Bigfoot. But I went to the Ohio conference. Gosh, this was probably about 9 years ago. And they had all the speakers, and she was there speaking. And I probably she was probably the interesting person that I wanted to see. And she put, she is the one she's an artist, and she does a lot of witnesses, and she draws the Bigfoots. It's amazing. Just her stories of all the different encounters. Every time I see her, I always say, when are you gonna write a book? When are you gonna write a book? Because just the Bigfoots and how they're like human, they're very different looking. Each one of them. I don't think there's any Bigfoots that really look the same. So why is that? I don't know.
Yeah, there's someone I had on, it's probably been a year ago, Sasquatch Data Project, and she has done, I guess, taken BFRO reports and just went through them. And you've got various colors of hair, muscular, leaner, and the range of colors is what's interesting as far as, from black to red to, of course, albino or white, as well.
And some of the stories too that you hear about the personalities, they all have different parts. Some of them have senses of humor. Some of them will mimic you. There's many stories about Bigfoot saving people, and then there's other stories about where they're not real happy, and usually it involves guns. So usually they don't like people around with guns. So I've had like more activity in nature trails and national parks, and that's because there's no hunting. If you think about it, no hunting allowed. There's no guns allowed. Where you're allowed, you're
Right.
allowed to have guns, but you're not allowed to fire your guns. It's supposed to be for protection. So do they sense that people are there to hunt and don't like it? I don't know. Um,
Jana, let me ask you this. What would you tell a skeptic?
I would tell a skeptic to go on an expedition, get with some experienced Bigfooters, even go on day trips, go out on a day hike with them, and go out and see for yourself. Because I never thought that, I would see the things that I've seen, especially if you like to hike.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You've had some incredible stories and experiences.
Yeah.
And for someone, that's a non-believer, just like you said, that's the best thing to do is take a hike, open your eyes, and you never know what you can see or run into.
Yeah, for sure. Just
Yeah.
know your snakes.
Absolutely. No doubt about that. Well, Jana, at the end of each episode, we do a rapid fire Q&A. It's 3 questions, and it's the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Number 1, favorite Bigfoot TV show, past or present?
Oh, Finding Bigfoot.
Good choice. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
All right. Number 2, favorite movie?
The Way We Were.
The Way We
Are you
Were.
talking about Bigfoot movie?
No, just in general, any movie.
The Way We Were.
Okay. Gotcha.
Have you seen The Way We Were?
I have not seen that.
Well, you're gonna have to watch it then. It's a really good
who are the stars
Barbara
or co-stars?
Streisand and Robert Redford.
Okay.
I can't believe. Ask your wife. It's a chick flick though.
All
Your
right.
wife probably seen it.
She's probably seen it. I'll have to ask her about it.
Okay.
Number 3, if you went on a Bigfoot search or expedition, what celebrity Bigfoot guess would you like to take?
I would like to take Rob Lowe because he's seen a Bigfoot.
Yes, I have watched that. I cannot remember what that was on. I think he took his sons with him.
Yes. Yeah. And I think they were encircled with it. Who else is I can't think of her name. She's the skater that was Tanya Harding is a Bigfooter. She was in
Really?
Oregon. Yeah. You can always tell the Squatchers they've got the Bigfoot stickers on their cars. I've got one or two, you know. A lot of people are out there really, really like doing it, especially
Right.
out in the Pacific Northwest. I mean, it's everywhere. Everything's Bigfoot restaurants, everything.
Sure. No doubt about that. We've been out there one time, and there was quite a bit of Bigfoot memorabilia, I guess you could say, stickers, statues,
Everywhere. Yeah.
everywhere.
Somebody told me, and I don't know if this is true, they say that in California and New York that it is a felony to kill a Bigfoot.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is
I have
interesting.
did some research about a year or two ago, and there is, I believe it's wildlife or the U.S. I'm sorry, the Florida wildlife regulations in the lower Swanee area. There was a sentence in the hunting regulations. It was just in a random paragraph. It was talking about wild hogs, coyotes, and at the very end, it said no taking of skunk apes or swamp apes. And
Oh,
is the
wow.
very last sentence in the paragraph.
Well, there you go.
Pretty neat. Well, Jana, thank you for coming on the show, taking your time out of your schedule and to share your experiences.
My pleasure. I love to talk about Bigfoot.
I do as well, and I really enjoyed it. Maybe we can do a part two sometime and find out if you have some more experiences or encounters or stories to share.
Sure. Sure. Hopefully I will. I'm hopefully going to get out there this spring.
Do you plan on going back to the Western North Carolina Bigfoot Festival in Marion?
Maybe. Maybe. When is that? I forgot when that was.
It's in late August, I believe. Last
Was
weekend?
it in August? Yeah, it was in August, wasn't it? Yeah,
Yes.
maybe. I don't know if I'm invited. It's my daughter's thing. It's her best friend, but I definitely there's some good festivals I think that are coming up. I think the Red River Gorge is having a festival, and they seem to have a lot of them. I would recommend definitely going to the Ohio Bigfoot conference if you've never gone. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that's a bucket list.
Yeah, yeah, I was lucky to go. I got
Yeah,
to meet Bob, and it was pretty cool.
that's neat.
And
Really neat.
Cliff was there. Cliff Rockland was there, and
Right.
he's a super nice guy. He comes to a lot of conferences here and a lot of festivals here. I think he's pretty good friends. And if you get the chance to talk to Charlie Raymond, get to get him on your podcast. He's definitely been doing it for 30 years now. So,
Yeah, I have
he's
to
it's
track him down or find out how to get in touch with him and maybe have him on.
you should you can probably just reach out to the through the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Organization. You can just message him. He loves to talk about Bigfoot too.
Okay, yeah. Sounds like a
Yeah.
plan. I appreciate that.
All
Well,
right.
Jana, thank you again for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And for the listeners, if you've had an encounter or something strange, shoot us an email with your contact information at the Cryptid Crew Podcast at gmail.com. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel out. Thank you for listening, and God bless.